Hi. Recently, I have joined a project and uh, I was facing some challenges which I would like to share and how did I sort those challenges out. So, when I joined the project, it's just a short-term project for two couple of weeks, uh, and I required to do some task. It's a bit complicated, or what that the engineers claim, the company. It's not that complicated, but they say that it's complicated. So the idea is we are building a dynamic form, like a screen have dynamic forms, so you can, for example, you are. It's basically configuration for events. So you can say that, okay, I have a form that if you score two, okay, or it's a configuration like score 2 or 3 or 4, then you win. So I want to add a field for the win score, and that's dynamic. Maybe another event will not have that configuration. They don't need that. Either you play and then you win, or you lose. You don't have to score to win. For example, the others, they need the name for the players. Another, they need, no, we need the nickname, and there are unlimited players. In some games, it's only two. So those fields should be dynamic. I want the fields to be dynamic. I will add 10 players, so we need 10 names. Another will, okay, we only need 2 names, and that's it. We need to configure the score on some we don't need that. It's just a binary win or lose. So this dynamic form is my task. So we start with basic form, like it's a fixed form, before we move to the advanced form, which is dynamic. It's really dynamic. You add whatever fields you want. How did I approach such problem? When I joined, I did not know that is exactly the task. I need to communicate with the team to understand what's required from me. That's the first step, to understand the problem, what exactly is required. So you have to jump in a call with the person who, like we call product owner maybe, or the one who understands the specification, what's required from the business point of view. So you have to communicate with him. That's the first task you do, so you understand what is required. And during the call, you start first with viable communication, like you talk, you have a discussion. If you find that the idea is not clear in your head or in his head, but sometimes a business team don't understand really what they want, and they need more questions to and get in the details to form their ideas and clarify it. But that is the first step. You have to have variable communication with the team, and you have to understand exactly what they want. If this doesn't work, you have to use other tools. You can use drawing, you can write, you have to use other tools of communication. You can maybe do recording, you can kind of go through the recording and then make sure you understand what's going on, and then get back to him with questions. You have to find a way to communicate. But personally, mostly I use diagrams, or maybe we just open a document and we start to write, and then I start to ask questions, then we write the questions, then we write the answer, write the question, write the answer, until the idea is clear. And you should always seek for a feedback for your understanding. So if he talked for 1 hour, then you try to summarize everything and tell, okay, is this what you mean? And then you start to explain the idea from your point of view. That's my understanding. Is that clear? Yes, it is, or no, it's not. Then we have such a feedback loop. So that's very important. If you understand what's required from you, you will implement wrong requirements, and you will have to iterate a lot before you do the right thing. After that, you start to see, okay, is this something I know I have built it before, or I don't know? It's something new to me. On my case, was something new to me. So first thing, I just go and see if there is already we have existing solution we can use. In that case, we were using JavaScript, so I was looking for NPM package or library to use. I found some NPM package to build a dynamic forms. I used that package, but before I use it, I had to build a POC, proof of concept. So I just started a new React front-end application. We already had the backend. The backend was not complicated to add a new endpoint. So I just built a new endpoint, and then I started a new React application, and then I start to play around with the library, try to build a small, simple scenario using what we have, just to understand how I will implement this concept which we already discussed. And after implementing this small POC, I show to the product owner or to the business team in general, whoever, or sometimes it's even technical guy, but he understands what's required. So you show, and then you say, okay, that's what you need, just to understand the whole process. So we will end this endpoint. It's going to be called from the front end. The front end will receive this data, and that's how the form will be rendered. This what's needed. This what's required. Yes, no, then okay. If no, why it's no, then you start to address the issues. You take the feedback and you start to address the problems or issues or comments. Then you go back to work, and then you get a new version and you go and get a feedback. You stay on that cycle until the POC is completed and you agree, okay, this is the requirements, this is a POC for the requirements, and let's see how it will work on the real, the real case now, which will be very easy. Actually, after building the POC and understanding what's required, building the feature itself will be very easy. It's a matter of using the POC, mix it with the requirements, and then start to deliver. So you build something, and then you create a PR and start to deliver. This is the way which I handle such what they call complicated problems. I say complicated, it's all about communication more than like technical difficulties. Usually the technical difficulties is very simple. You just have to understand the concept of a POC. Once you understand that concept and you know how to build a POC quickly, it's very easy. Now, I haven't passed through my entire career, I haven't passed through a problem which cannot be solved with such approach. Never. Like almost all the what they call complicated problems, once I build a POC, it becomes very easy. And also very important to understand what's required. So communication is extremely important in such cases, and how to build a POC is also important, because if you don't understand the technology, you will have longer path. Now you need to go and learn, and after you learn, you start to build the POC. I talked before about ChatGPT and how it helped me a lot, and right now even building the POC become much more easier using ChatGPT, but still it's longer path if you don't know that technology, or you haven't used that tool before, or if there is no existing tool to use, you have to build your own tool. But as long as you communicate that with the team, that okay guys, okay, that is the problem, we don't have existing tool to build it, so we need to build our own tools, then things become easy. Sometimes it's not possible to build those requirements. Sometimes the requirement is extremely huge. You have to split it down, and you have to deliver small part of it, and then you continue and you accumulate by time. Like in that scenario I explained, we had to build the basic form first. The basic form, which is like static data. We return a static for all the users. Then building the advanced now, it takes some time. It took some time, so we had to build it on a second phase. So as long as you break it down into small pieces and you achieve a small step and then another step and then another step, and you communicate that with the team, you will be fine. There is no complicated. That sometimes it's not possible. You explain it's not possible, and you explain what you did or what's the information you have make you think it's not possible, or it will take time, or we need to break it down, or we can't deliver the full feature. We need to simplify the feature a bit. Like I was working before in a project, we are using the map, and there was a requirement which like we need to display all the data on the map, which is not possible. So I had to explain that we can't display everything. We can't paginate them into 50. Like it was event, so we have to display all the events. I explained that that's not possible. Why? Because of technical limitation. And I did performance test on a POC that if we display a huge amount of data, how the data will look like. Like visually, it's not useful at all. It was not useful at all. Once I did that explanation and I show the POC and I show how it will interact, then the business have been convinced, okay, let's simplify the feature. We only had to show maybe 50, and that's a reasonable number, and performance-wise that's possible, then we are good to go. Communication is very, very important in such case. And also you can look for a smart solutions. Maybe the solution or the requirements from the business, yes, technically it's not possible for some limitations, but we can, instead of us doing it in that way, we can do it in this way. So instead, let's say that instead of showing all the events, we can just choose the events which is around where I am. That's my interest. I'm not interested on events on another state or in another city or in another country. I need only to see the events within my city or within my state, if you have states in your country. So I'm just interested in those events. If you would like to see events outside of where you are, then change your location. So if you change your location, now you will see the events on this other state. This is the same feature, but in a smart way. It fit like the customer need. I don't really need, or I don't have any interest to attend an event outside of my country or outside of my state, because I'm not staying there anyway, unless I'm traveling there. So that means I should change my location so that I can see the events on this location, because I'm willing to travel for that event. This is when I want to see the events in that state or this country. So again, this is a smart way to do things. If possible, it will be great. Again, you have to communicate that. You have to have ideas or smart ways to explain to the business that, okay, there is limitation, but we can do this, we can do that. Those are other options. Is this something you can consider, or we can look for another options to consider? And out of that discussion, you will find a way. I hope that's useful. We'll see you next time.